here we go. Coming down to the last, well, it's the second to last episode for the monsters. Last one's going to be the big guy, the dragon. So, a couple little extra steps in this one. We're going to mix in some contrast paints with some regular paints for the paint scheme. Nothing too crazy. There's only, what, 2 of these to paint, I think? Yeah. So, nothing crazy. First off, as always, I want to thank all my YouTube members for your amazing contributions. You guys are awesome. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Can't thank you guys enough. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button, hit that follow, hit that thumbs up, bell button as well. But without further ado, let's go. Alright, the first thing we're going to do is obviously shave off any nasty mold lines onto our miniature. Obviously off camera, I'm going to spray paint this in white, and we're going to use that as kind of our undertone to let these contrast paints do the natural highlighting on it. We're going to go on all of the robes with Apothacary White. Now, the card art, and I could not find anything on Google. All I had was it on my iPad from the game. I couldn't find it. I don't know what's going on. I've never been able to not find anything on Google, but you know, I followed it pretty much to a T as far as the art went. So do all of the robes in the Apothecary White. Next, obviously let that completely dry. If you got a blow dryer, you can blow dry it. I just suggest don't doing it on contrast paints because you want to let those pooling areas, let them sit naturally and don't let them force them because that air is going to push them. Once it's dry, we're just going to do a dry brush of Parexti White all over the robes, and that's why we did this first, because we got to do everything else after this. Next, we're going to take like the linen robe areas that's coming out. We're going to use some contrast paint of Warp Lightning. Now this is just going to be the base tone. We're going to highlight this up to the actual color it looks like in the game here at the end of the video, and we're going to do a 360 here just here in a second. Now the most tedious portions of this miniature are going to be the chains, because they're literally everywhere, and the bells, because they're everywhere too, and it seemed like as soon as I thought I'd painted them all, I missed 1 or 2. So take your time. We're going to use some Canoptek Alloy on all of our metal. If you don't have this, just use a Leadbelcher or whatever metal you have. It doesn't really matter. It's just because I was being weird like that. Now, you could have done the bell before as well, because the big thing on the back probably would have been better, but it really doesn't matter. Maybe just a little bit of sleight of ease to do that portion, so you're not really worried about slopping it all over the chains. So we're going to use some Runelord Brass on all of our bells. Again, these 2 parts take the longest out of the entire portion of this miniature by far, because they're everywhere. You got to be a little careful, especially because we already did the robes, and there's not a whole lot of ways you can clean up those robes. So take your time on it, enjoy it, listen to a book, put on some music, podcast, talk to somebody, whatever you want to do. And this is what it should look like. Next, we're going to do a 50-50 mix of Mechanicus Standard Grey and Baneblade Brown. Now, if you have just a standard gray, because that's all Mechanicus Standard Grey is, hence the name, and then just a light brown. That's all you really need. You don't need to have these specific colors unless you really want them. We're going to paint these all over our winged areas, the face and the hands. There's a leg that kind of sticks up in the back that you can kind of see, but I didn't even mess with it because it just takes time. Now you can see that the white undertone that we had spray painted our miniature with is sticking out, and that's exactly what you want because it gives you a natural highlight without doing extra work. And that's what we're here for, is because we're just trying to get this thing on the table looking pretty. For the gauntlets on our Doom Collar, we're going to be using a little bit of Warplock Bronze. Just those two areas right there, one on each arm. For a little sash, we're going to use some Ork Flesh. Again, nothing crazy, just something real basic. For the little rod that our Doom Collar is holding, I know it's kind of off screen right now, it'll come back up here in a second. We're going to use some just basic Basilicanum Grey. Only 2 washes we're doing on this entire miniature, and I know what you're probably thinking, like, oh man, this thing doesn't look that great right now. Again, take a little bit of a leap of faith. It'll turn out just fine to match that card art. We're going to take that Nulin Oil, and we're going to slap that all over our metal areas, obviously. And if you get a little bit onto the brass areas, again, it's not a big deal. It doesn't make it any worse. Just be careful on the robes. That's the only thing you got to be careful on. So use a smaller brush on those smaller chains on the robes. Next, we're going to be using some Agrax Earthshade on all of our bells. Now, you want to really kind of put this on there, especially the big bell in the back. You want that to get into the recesses. And we are also not going to be highlighting our bells. I wanted to keep those bells looking old and rustic and not like they're fresh and with fresh paint on them. I wanted them looking old. So I really kind of put a heavy coat of the Agrax on there, let it sit, obviously let it dry. And if you get some on the chains, it really doesn't matter. It really adds to the flavor, so don't worry about that. Again, we're not perfect. We're not putting this in no competition. We're not going for best in show. We're going for get it on the table, make it look good, and your friends think you're cool. All right, for our first highlight on our wings, we're only going to do the top portion of the wings. You can also do this on the claws area of the wings and on the hands and on the face. We're only going to go on the raised areas. We're going to do a 50-50 mix of Baneblade Brown and Skavenblight Dinge. Skavenblight Dinge is a heavier gray, but with that brown, I mixed a little bit more brown in there than I did with the heaviness of the gray. So again, you can put the tone anywhere you wanted it to, but I want to look at more earthly. The Doom Collar looks like a dragon from Earth, and that's what I wanted to do in this specific miniature. Now for the inside of the wings, we did put the Agrax Earthshade in there, and that gave it that brown tone with the white undertone, which makes it look like the card art or the computer art or whatever you call it. Do a 50-50 mix of the gray Seer and the Baneblade Brown, and we're just going to put those on the raised areas of our wings. This is to create that brownish look versus the gray, but you have some of that brown in the top portion of your wings, so it really meshes well together, and I think it turned out pretty well. And I'll give myself some credit for that. We're also going to use the same color on the horned area. You can put some onto the face as well. There's a two-tone variance between the wing tops and the face itself and some of the hands, so I just kind of mixed it in there and made it look, nice. Card art. Our Doom colors got red eyes, so we're just going to put a quick undertone of white, followed by some Baal Red contrast paint in the eye sockets. That's really it. Don't go crazy on it. Don't go overboard. Just real easy, simple. Probably the most second tedious part of this is using some Leadbelcher and just hitting those chains. You could do a dry brush version, just be a little careful. Again, if you get onto the brass bell area, it ain't gonna make a difference. So just hit those areas up until you're satisfied, and then you're good to go. All right, we are now changing the color of our front robes that are green. We're gonna use some Sybarite Green, and by doing this, we're going to change that. There's that nice deep green undertone, and by putting this on there, a nice couple thin layers, you could probably get away with one. I did one on most of it. Two if you really want to make it stand out, but it gives you that green, heavy green undertone with that nice subtle like teal green on top. It looks pretty good. We're going to add some flavor, so you're going to use some Nihlakh Oxide onto our bells area. Now you can do it on all the bells. I just did it on the back. This adds that oxidation look on the bronze. Looks pretty good, I think, and just anywhere you want it, no rhyme or reason. Moving on to the base. A simple base we've done on all these miniatures, not going crazy, just making it look nice, and that's about it. The rocks, we're going to do a Mechanicus Standard Gray. Once that is dry, we're going to put some Nulin Oil on it. And once that Nulin Oil is completely dry, which is going to take a hot minute, we're just going to do a quick dry brush of some Dawnstone on those rocky areas. And that will be it for that. You could put in a third layer, some Administratum Gray, some Gray Seer dry brush if you want it to be more depth-like rocks. But for this, I decided not to do any of that. Now for your favorite part of painting the miniature, because it means you're done, the rim of the base. As always, if you've watched this at all, I do all my bases in black. I'm not gothic. I just like black. And that's it. That is all she wrote. Nothing too crazy. Nothing out of the ordinary. It just takes some time. Those chains, those bells, they really take some time. But it turns out pretty good. Matches that computer art just fine. Not crazy. I mean, this video is only almost 14 minutes till the end, and you did it all. So, I'm proud of you. Thank you for watching. Thank you for all of my members, my subscribers. Again, we do have different tiers of membership if you are interested. If you do the 25, I've only got 4 memberships available for that. 25 a month. You can pick one miniature a month that I would paint for you. So, it is up to you. But until next time, paint on.